So we're going to talk about something because the Lord wants to talk about it. Put it on my heart. So if you've been reading the scriptures long enough, you've been going to church long enough, and I'm talking about church that is teaching from the eyes of religion, those that have only lacked the understanding because they have not encountered the love of God. So you'll hear many pastors that are teaching from this understanding of religion that the scriptures do not contradict themselves, but they absolutely 100% do. There are certain scriptures in the Bible that contradict themselves, because the Lord has made a way of opportunity that not one man can stand before him or before another man, another brother or sister, and say that God wouldn't do something. It is only after I began to encounter the love of God and the depths of the love of God that I could begin to understand these scriptures that I didn't understand. Many scriptures that I understood wrongly because of my blindness, of my deafness. So now I can begin to look at the scriptures, and the instructions that the Lord has given me is judge from my character, from who you know that I am. Judge the scriptures with an understanding, that understanding that you now have because you know who I am. You know my love. I'm going to give an example. We have a scripture that says adultery and remarriage is an abomination to the Lord. But then you have the example of Hosea, who is directed by God to marry a prostitute and then to remarry her after she has been with other men. So what happens? We look at this, and this is a complete contradiction. No matter what any other man tells us, this is what we understand a contradiction to be. And then we ask ourselves why. Because this is the love of our God, the mercy of our God. This is the proof of our God that it is by faith. When he leads us to do something in our lives, in each of our personal and intimate lives, he will ask you to do things that you may not understand at that point. You do not understand this now, the scripture says, but you will understand. Which is why obedience is better than sacrifice and animal's blood, because we have the image of the one who came, sent by God, his only son, an official and perfect sacrifice, that we would now not be under the covenant of law, which brings forth death, but under the covenant of grace. Because you can see God's character. And I'm even going to show you an example, 2 examples of God's character, even before Christ came. That God is forever, yesterday, today, and forevermore. He is the same. His character, his love, who he is, the I am, has not changed. We have examples of David and Samuel. David not only committed adultery, but he murdered the husband of Bathsheba. And God still used him mightily. God desires to use his children, even in our imperfections, even in our flaws. He used the gravest examples in the Bible, that we would stand on his mercy and on his grace. And even more now that the lamb was sent for us to redeem and to restore us to the Father in right standing by the blood, not by what we do. So these scriptures are very difficult for us to understand when we do not recognize the love of God. You cannot begin to walk in your purpose. Can God use you? Absolutely. But your purpose, your identity can only begin to be revealed to you as you know God's love. Because many of us God will be speaking to us. He will be telling us who we are, and we can see this even in scripture. God tells us we are saints and we are righteous, but then we overpower it by we are sinners and we have wicked hearts. But yet, where's the process of sanctification that comes forth after the blood has already called us righteous by God? We are seen righteous because of what Christ has done. Then you have Samuel. Wow, who's the other one I wanted to use? Well, both. They're examples. The one with the long hair. Samson. These are perfect examples in the Old Testament that God still desires to use man even in their flaws, because that is his mercy. That is his character. It is his grace. It is his love for creation to use us in our imperfect nature, our fallen nature, as we are transfigured. But we can't understand these things. You see, it's the love of God that helps us to rightly divide the word of God. It helps us to divide everything in this life. How can we truly discern something or a situation when we have the wrong sight, the wrong image of who God is? When you do not understand that God's love is unfailing, that God's love is indefinite and bottomless, it is hard for us to understand these scriptures. It is hard for us to even understand our identity of who we are in him. But it is with this image of a father to a daughter, or a father to a son, that has really transformed. Because tell me, there are examples of parents, of children that have committed murder, heinous crimes. I'm a woman that watches many crime shows, so this is something that I see regularly. And there are examples of parents that will support and stand by their child. This is an act of unconditional love. Is man greater than God to stand by a child's side after he has made a way for them to be washed? Does God not want does God not desire that child turn to him and choose life? That he can wash his slate clean? Is man greater in the things that parents do down here greater than the living God who created them? Absolutely not. So when you see the greatest acts of love, may you ask yourself where this came from. Because that is our Father. That is the nature of our Father, the I am. Love is the weapon, and everything else falls under love. The process of desiring to renew yourself, to renew your mind, the process of being sanctified, the process of allowing the Lord to mold you, is all under this umbrella of love. This doesn't give us the right to go do things, but it does give us the right to fall under grace and get back up as soon as you've tripped and say, God, you love me. God bless you guys. The enemy is a liar. Lack of understanding is drunkenness. Remember that the things of God are spiritual. We've many times in religion, we've taken the scriptures literally. It is our spiritual state that manifests what happens in the physical. So if you are a drunkard, which means you are blind and deaf, in the spirit, it manifests itself in the physical. When you see you are a drunkardness in the scriptures, it's not a physical state, it's a spiritual state. What happens when you're drunk? You can't rationalize. You're unstable, very unstable. It's a spiritual state. Only God could have given me these understandings. Only now that I can begin to see his love, how he truly loves me. And I'm not listening to these outside voices. I'm not listening to people who do not have the understanding of God. You have been given the Spirit that no man need to teach you. Are you like the Israelites who desires a king? God will give you a king. He will give you a leader. But if you desire God, he will speak to you face to face, because Jesus has made a way and the veil has been torn for you to come directly to the Father, because you are a daughter or a son of God. God bless you. Have a good day.